Okay, Chairman, we're now live.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the virtual meeting of the North Applications Planning Committee for the London Borough of Hillingdon. This is a virtual meeting and is also being broadcast simultaneously on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name is Councillor Henry Higgins and I'm the chairman of this meeting. Before we start, some important housekeeping for everybody, please. Please ensure your mobile phones are on silent. If you're wearing a headset, ensure that the microphone is away from your mouth to avoid any feedback. And only one person may speak at a time. And as the chairman, I will call those to speak. Please use you should have a little thing called raised hand, so if you can all press that and then remember to unpress that once you've finished talking. Before I move on to the agenda, I'd like to do a roll call of councillors present to confirm attendance. Please indicate you are present when I say your name. Councillor Morgan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Dott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Hagger.
Good evening, Chair. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin.
Councillor Melvin hasn't joined us, but I haven't heard anything from her. I haven't received apologies.
I know I've just spoken to before. She should be trying. Councillor Kaufman.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Oswald.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Singh.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
And Councillor Yarrow. I can
Councillor
see
Yarrow, you're on mute at the moment.
Yeah, I can see him speaking, so we'll take him.
Councillor Yarrow is present, but unfortunately he's on mute at the moment.
We'll go from there. Okay, planning officers and officers present tonight meeting. James Wells. I can hear him too.
You're on mute as well, James.
Head of planning, James Rogers. He's got.
I'm present, Chairman.
Oh, yeah, you had to get it right. Everybody, you're the one that has to get it right. Okay, planning enforcement and appeals manager. Welcome, Desmond. Now, please forgive me. Is it Adum Ikuyu?
Adumekwe.
Adumekwe.
Yeah.
That's even easier. I'll write that down. And thank you. Welcome, and it's nice to have you. Actually.
Thank you, Chairman.
That's great. I'll probably end up calling you Desmond right through the night, though.
That's not a
problem. And also transport policy and planning, Alan Tilley.
Present, Chairman. Good evening.
Thank you. And the person that I couldn't do this without, Democratic Service Officer Liz Penny.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you very much. And the legal advisor, the most important person here, we have to be very careful, is Glenn Egan. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman. I'm present. Thank you.
Great. In terms of technical meeting control, if councillors leave the virtual meeting partway through the period of time, e.g. a lost connection, I will continue the meeting unless we are not quorate, which is 3 councillors. I don't think that Councillor Melvin probably will join us after item 6 because she has declared an interest in that one, but I think that might be the reason that she's not here. It's important that any councillor who does leave the meeting for a period of time will not be able to vote on that item when you're not present. Can I have apologies for absence, Liz?
No apologies, Chairman.
Thank you. Declarations of interest matters coming before us. Obviously, I've mentioned Carol Melvin. Anybody else? No. Okay. Do we agree the meeting's the last meeting? That's a thumbs up for everybody.
Yeah, great.
Matters not notified in advance or urgent. There are none. Is that correct, Liz?
Yes, that's correct.
And to confirm, this is a public and private reports. We will obviously do the public reports are from to number 1 to 6 to 13, and 14 to 16 are in private. Item 6.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Councillor Melvin's just joined. I believe you had to declare an interest, Councillor Melvin, in this item. Is that right?
Terribly sorry, I had a real job getting back in. Something went wrong.
Yes, I'm declaring an interest on the first item, 16 Murray Road. I've been involved in the past with different applications, so I'm declaring an interest in that, and I will be leaving the meeting.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Apologies, Chairman. Chairman, you're on mute at the moment, sorry.
Item 6. That's the trouble because we're going from Google to the item 6. Again, James Wells, would you like to present this, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I can't see. Is that taking you down to the to item 6?
James, that's the first slide. It's the first slide.
It's just the front page.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's
all right, we've got it now.
Thank you. Excuse me. It wasn't moving on my screen. Apologies. As has been said, this is item 6, 16 Murray Road. This slide shows the location of the site. The proposed development includes a 2-storey rear extension, enlargement of habitable roof space to include rear dormers and roof lights, a central roof lantern, and alterations to the elevations. These slides show again the location of the site, existing and proposed floor plans. So these are existing floor plans and elevations, and an existing and proposed street scene, and then proposed block plan, and then proposed floor plans and elevations. Moving on from the drawings, these photographs show the site, the bird's eye view, and then the property in question, showing the site, the building in question, and some adjoining properties and the surrounding area. If I click back to slide 10, which shows the proposed floor plans and elevations, to begin with, following consultation, 7 responses were received, raising many objections as set out in the report, and a petition against the proposal with 24 signatures was submitted. As members will be aware, the original property has previously been extended to the rear. These proposals would incorporate these extensions and extend to the rear, giving a 2-storey rear extension of between 2.3 and 9.85 metres in depth, with a mainly pitched roof. And at ground floor, there would be a further flat roof extension, 4.6 metres in depth, in the area to the side of the 2-storey extension, as members can see on the drawings on screen. In summary, this is a substantial addition to the original property. As set out in the report, the Conservation Officer has raised strong objections because the proposed additions are considered disproportionately large in relation to the original house, and in particular they would fail to preserve or enhance the character and appearance of the Northwood Town Conservation Area. For the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for refusal. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. I believe we've got a petition on this list. Do we have any
yes, we do, Chairman. Would you like me to read it out now?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a petition from the lead petitioner. My representation is as the lead petitioner, where 24 local residents oppose this application. The application describes significant demolition of 16 Murray Road, creating a gross out-of-scale extension with a massive 70% increase of internal floor area, with the destruction of a pleasant visual environment in the conservation area. The design is simplistic, overwhelming, out of place, insensitive to its setting, and an overdevelopment with an excessively large and incongruous extension. This is not a 2-storey extension as stated, as so much habitable accommodation is proposed. Instead, it creates a huge 3-storey house that lends itself to subdivision into flats and/or a house of multiple occupation for more than 6 people that would require planning consent rather than a family home. The excessive bulk, depth and height would impact negatively on the gap views between number 16, 18 and 18A. Hillingdon policy DMHD1 requires alterations and extension of dwellings should appear subordinate to the main dwelling and requires no unacceptable loss of outlook to neighbouring occupiers. The proposed 3-storey development has an adverse impact on adjacent properties and so contravenes Hillingdon policy DMHB1 as well as DMHB11. That all development should take into account aspects including the scale of the development, considering the height, mass and bulk of adjacent structures, building plot sizes. It should also not adversely impact on the amenity, daylight and sunlight of adjacent properties and open space. This application fails to meet these requirements. The proposed development would have a detrimental impact on the residential amenity of 14, 18 and 18A in terms of overdominance, loss of light and loss of outlook. The proposal fails to comply with requirements of policies DMHB11, DMHD1, Local Plan Part 2, Development Management Policies 2020. Hillingdon Borough Council's Conservation Areas policy states extensions or alterations should not be out of scale with the original house, and the original plan of the house should be respected, and there should be a relationship with the original form of the house. This application fails to meet these standards. Extensive habitable accommodation is proposed at 3rd floor roof level. To comply with structural, thermal insulation and other requirements of the building regulations would require demolition and/or reconfiguration of nearly all of the existing roof. Such substantial demolition and alterations would significantly denigrate the authenticity and change the character of the original building, all of which would be inconsistent with the conservation area strategy. There is an absence of design and access statement, and this is unacceptable. The applicant states that no trees or hedges will need to be removed or pruned in order to carry out their proposal. This is inaccurate. The removal of a tree and pruning or removal of mature hedges will be detrimental to established wildlife. Hillingdon's planning policies seek to preserve and enhance the architectural character and appearance of conservation areas and to resist inappropriate development through the extension of planning controls under the provision of the Town and Country Planning General Permitted Development Order 1995 as amended. The proposal does not meet the above requirements as the extensions and alterations do not respect the property's original plan of the house. The proposal would therefore be contrary to policies BE1 and HE1 of the Hillingdon Local Plan Part 1 Strategic Policies November 2012, policies BE4, BE13, BE15 and BE19 of the Hillingdon Local Plan Part 2, saved UDP policies November 2012 and the adopted supplementary planning document at HDAS residential extensions. The proposed 3-storey extension would be an overly large and incongruous addition to the original property. The proposed rear extension and raising of the roof height by reason of its size, scale, bulk and design would be an intrusive addition to the property. The design fails to respect and harmonise with the architectural character of the original street scene and the wider conservation area where sensitivity should apply. The proposal therefore fails to either preserve or enhance the Northwood Town conservation area and would be contrary to policy BE1 of the Hillingdon Local Plan Part 1, Strategic Policies November 2012, and policies DMHB4, DMHB11, DMHB12 and DMHD1 of Local Plan Part 2, Development Management Policies 2020. In the above context, it is evident that the proposal is contrary to the heritage policies of the development plan and the NPPF heritage policies. Our opinion is that the application should be refused. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Liz, is there any comments from councillors? Can you hear me, Liz?
Apologies, sorry. Yeah, there are no comments from councillors or from the agent on this one or the applicant. Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, and there's no more councillors. Okay, so I'll open it up. I've got John Oswald. Councillor Oswald, would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, it's a pretty solid report. Reading through it, I've read through it twice now, and I think there are enough reasons in the recommendation refusal to refuse it, and I'll move the officer's recommendation, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Look, it's great that we have in a house that they're trying to keep as one property, rather than being broken up into lots of little flats. However, this is an overdevelopment, and again, as Councillor Oswald has said, we've got a great report here, and as Councillor Oswald has proposed the officer's recommendations, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. I can't see anybody else, so I'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. I support the officer recommendation for refusal. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Haggart.
Yes, for Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kaufman.
Support the officer's recommendation, Chairman.
Okay, Councillor Melvin has an interest. Councillor Morgan, you second. Councillor Oswald, you propose. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. I support the officer's recommendations.
Thank you. And Councillor Yarrow.
I believe, is Councillor Yarrow still on mute?
I can't see him on the list.
I can't see him on the list here.
Sorry, Chairman. Yes, he appears to have dropped out of the meeting, doesn't he?
Okay, fine. So we'll just take it as he's not present. Okay.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for, and you have 2 absence. Is that correct, Liz?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, we move on to another petition item, item 7. James, would you like to take us out on this one?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, Chair. This slide shows the location plan of the site. Planning permission is sought for the erection of a garden shed. These slides show the proposed shed in drawing form, effectively towards the northern part of the site, or sorry, I may have got the orientation wrong. This is a photograph. As members can see, the shed is now in place. With regards to the application, following consultation, 3 representations and a petition objecting with 20 signatures were received. The proposed shed would have a depth of 3 metres and a width of 2.5 metres. It would have a pitched roof with a maximum height of 2.8 metres. The tree landscape officer has confirmed, although the site lies within the area covered by TPO 99, there are no protected trees on or adjacent to the property. Following the submission of drawings showing tree protection measures and landscaping details last month, the tree landscape officer was reconsulted and has no objections. For the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, James. We also have a petition, Liz. Do you want to read that out for me, please?
Yes, certainly. So we do have a petition, and we've had a representation from the lead petitioner. Good evening. We are truly shocked at the officer's recommendation and have 3 questions for you to consider. Firstly, does this local planning authority believe that planning conditions should be complied with? Secondly, to what extent does a plastic shed enhance existing landscaping, trees, biodiversity or other natural feature of merit, as is required by the Council's tree and landscaping policy? Thirdly, as this application is for a property set within an area of special local character, where a defined characteristic is the view of trees in rear gardens between the gaps in properties, do you believe that a plastic shed looks like a tree? Regarding our first question, does the committee believe that planning conditions should be complied with? We note that all the applications recommended for approval on tonight's agenda have conditions proposed. In fact, the next application on tonight's agenda recommended for approval has a total of 22 conditions. So how many of these conditions can the applicant ignore at will? If this committee does not expect conditions to be complied with, then why include them? There is a process for appealing any conditions which an applicant believes to be unfair, yet the applicant has chosen not to follow this process. So why did the inspector include these particular conditions for this new build application? The first two of the three conditions you are being asked to ignore are: all the trees and bushes marked on the planning application are to be kept, and if they died or befell accidents, they should be replaced in the same place. Most importantly, the inspector stated that these particular conditions are necessary to protect the character and appearance of the area of special local character. The inspector also set a condition which quite unambiguously stated there were to be no garages, sheds or other outbuildings. Again, the inspector stated that his reason for this condition was to protect the character and appearance of the area of special local character. He did not say a small shed will be okay. He said no sheds or outbuildings. No means no, or does it? So that's three conditions set by the inspector to protect the character and appearance of the area of special local character which are to be ignored. This applicant or his tenants have chosen to disregard these three conditions and felled a healthy, mature apple tree and replaced it with a shed. They did not seek your permission or seek the permission of the inspector who set the conditions. Regarding our second question and the council's tree and landscaping policy, we note that the tree officer has no objections to the healthy tree being replaced with a shed. How can that be? Officers have not given any justification for how the removal of the healthy tree and its replacement with a plastic shed contributes to the enhancement of the soft landscaping scheme or the biodiversity of this barren rear garden, and a shed is clearly not a feature of natural merit. So our third question, does a plastic shed resemble a tree? The inspector sets conditions to protect the character and appearance of the ASLC. We hope that you too also wish to protect the character and appearance of the ASLC. The Cabinet adopted a document in which Council Office outlined the characteristics and features of the Gatehill estate. One of those defining characteristics is gaps between the houses allowing views of mature trees in the rear gardens from the street. The inspector wished to protect the character of the area. Yet, contrary to the inspector's wishes, you are being asked to believe that the view of a plastic shed is the same as the view of a mature apple tree. How can that be? Please note that this is not a standalone application, but one of a succession where things have been done without consent, and now they are seeking to overturn conditions set by the Planning Inspectorate. All property developers in the London Borough of Hillingdon await your decision. Thank you. And that's the end of the petition. The representation. Thank you, Chairman.
There's no other applicant or ward councillor on this?
No, we've no, nothing else on this one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, James. I think you should come back here, James Rogers. There are some questions there that we need to the inspectorate said no trees should be replaced and no garages or sheds. Can you enlighten us? As
So the condition no garages and sheds is not saying you can't build a garage or shed. It's saying that it withdrew permitted development rights, which means a planning application is required. So under normal circumstances, all the other properties on the Gatehill estate wouldn't require planning permission for that shed. This particular property, which as members I'm sure are aware is a recent new build, has permitted development withdrawn. Part of the reason it had permitted development withdrawn is it's quite a small plot. So in effect, what I would call a medium-size development would have a greater impact on this property than on larger properties. So if we were dealing with what I'd call a medium-sized development, there could be concerns on this particular plot. But the proposal before you, and obviously you have the advantage that there's a photograph showing it in situ, is for a small shed. And there's an element of how we need to be proportionate in our decisions. I know all the members wish to protect the character and appearance of the Gatehill estate, but that's from medium or large developments that are inappropriate. This is for a small garden shed. So it would be, so some of the policies being referenced, I think, are being stretched a bit far, if I may be blunt.
Okay, and the apple tree situation, apple tree gate.
Yes, so members would have noted to the left-hand side of the rear garden there's a large tree that's just outside the curtilage, or it's effectively on the boundary. There was a much smaller tree. Yes, a very small tree has been removed. That is regrettable, but again, there's a degree of proportionality here in terms of what we pursue. I have to be very careful because I don't want to be seen to be condoning tree removal when it's not something I'd wish to do, but it was a very small tree and it is a small garden shed. So effectively, as planning officers, we need to recommend approval or refusal.
Yeah.
There isn't an in-between option, and because of the small size of the shed and the small tree that was removed, we feel this is an approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, James. Councillor Haggart, I have you indicating, and Councillor Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Whilst I understand that, I think I'm still concerned that protected tree has been cut down. But from what I'm understanding, you made it really clear, actually, James. So thank you. That's given a bit of a better perspective of it. There isn't really a way that we could put in a condition to replace that tree because the garden's too small. So I just want to understand that bit first. The second one is to just clarify. I noticed on the report that we also had that obviously this area, particularly, not the garden, we're talking about the area, lies within a critical drainage area. And I just wanted to just make sure that the shed would not have any implications on the drainage. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. James?
Yeah, I mean, the shed is so small that I think we are comfortable on the drainage. And you're absolutely right, Councillor. Even if members were to ask for a replacement tree, its contribution will be very limited because it's such a small plot. I'm not sure where one would plant it other than in the middle of the grass garden. And clearly it starts to become disproportionate, the action we would take if we were requesting such a thing to occur. So in effect, the small scale a shed, I think in this case is acceptable. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Is that okay, Councillor Haggard? Okay, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's a shame on this. I mean, see, we're already starting to lose the green space, the green feeling around Woodside Road. You know, we've now got this boundary fence between number 2 and number 4. And let's be honest, you know, it doesn't look that pretty to start with. And then at the bottom of the garden, we're having a plastic shed put up. You know, yes, we do question people, but honestly, you know, okay, the tree had to be removed because of the effect it was having on the surrounding area, and there is nowhere to plant another tree. You know, we're in this situation where in normal circumstances this wouldn't even come to committee. But it does look a mess, but I don't think there's anything we can do on this one. So it'd be interesting to see if we can turn around and say, look, change that to a wooden shed if that would work a bit more. But I must admit, I don't like plastic sheds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just come back on what Councillor Morgan was saying, that if it had been wooden shed, there wouldn't have been any of this. Probably a can of brown paint would seem the answer to this question. But, you know, we're arguing here over a garden shed, not a massive, great outbuilding. And to my mind, I would go along with officers' recommendations on this one.
Do I take that as a proposal?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder?
You do, Chairman. It's Councillor Oswell.
Councillor Oswell.
Sorry, Chairman, I did indicate.
You did, sorry.
Is it's okay. Like Councillor Morgan and probably everybody else do not like plastic sheds. I think they're horrible, but a lot of people are switching over to them simply because basically they more or less last forever. But anyway, having said that, I don't like them, but that's not what this is about. That's just a personal point of view. I'll second the officer's recommendation, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Well, Councillor Melvin, I did see you indicate. Has everything been said?
No, I was just going to second and say the same as Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here. A wooden shed would have looked rather sweet in the corner there, I would have thought. But
It would have looked a lot better, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's not for us, unfortunately. It's not in our remit to tell people what their taste should be. I think is best to say that way. I go straight to the vote. Councillor Dotts, please.
For Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hager.
For Chair.
Proposed by Councillor Kaufman. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for Chairman.
Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Oswald seconded. Councillor Singh.
For Chairman.
Councillor Yarrow, welcome back.
Yes, Chairman, I missed most of the introduction to all that, so I think it would be prudent to abstain or not vote at all.
Okay, we'll take you as an abstention. So I have that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 abstention. Liz, is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman. Yes.
Okay, great. We're rolling on a nice pace here. Item 8 is the last of the petitioners. James, would you like to do the presentation first, and then we'll go to Liz to read out the.
Thank you, Chairman. The slide on the screen shows the location of the site. Because items 8 and 9 are effectively the same proposal for the same site, if we could deal with them effectively together, albeit that the petition, as I understand it, only relates to item 8. These
That'd
items
be fine. That'd be fine, James. You can do that. I'm sure
Thank
the
you.
committee agree. Can you nod if that's okay with everybody? Yeah, great. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. These items are seeking planning permission and listed building consent for a barn extension to provide a restaurant at ground floor and 8 guest rooms at first floor. These slides show the existing and proposed floor plans and elevations. So here we have the existing site plan, and this is the proposed site plan showing the barn in situ, effectively just beyond the existing buildings in the upper right hand side of the screen. Going on from there, again, the existing buildings, the proposed ground floor plan of the proposed building showing the ground floor restaurant, and then the first floor showing the 8 rooms as was said previously. I'll click through these plans, again showing the existing situation, and then the elevations of the proposed development. I'll come back perhaps to the proposed elevations after going through the photos, but I think given that this proposal was considered and refused at committee in November 2020, members will recall that. I won't spend too much time going through the photographs. I think probably for the same reasons, members are reasonably familiar with the site and the surroundings. So thank you. If I click back to the proposed elevation, and just to go through the information about the proposed development, and at the end of the presentation, I understand Liz will read out representations from a petitioner, but to summarize what's in the report, the proposed development would increase the footprint of the existing buildings by approximately 64 square meters, which is almost 54% increase, and it would increase the volume of the development by about 483 cubic meters, which equates to an just over 81% increase. It's considered that the proposed development poses less than substantial harm to the setting of the grade 2 listed building and would constitute inappropriate development within the greenbelt. However, it's also considered to provide public benefits that on balance outweigh the harm posed to the listed building and provide very special circumstances to consider the proposed development favourably. And accordingly, the proposed development is on balance acceptable, although it's considered to be at the upper limit of what would be considered acceptable. And for the reasons outlined within the report, the development is recommended for approval. Happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, James. Obviously, we'll go over to you, Liz, now. I think it's just one petition, is it? No council representation. Yep, that's right.
Yes, that's right. Just one petition, Chairman. So yes, we have a petition in support of this application. Just to make it clear that it's in support of agenda item 8 rather than 9. Okay. This is our second petition in support of the expansion of the Six Bells Inn in Ruislip. So I hope members of the committee will forgive me if there is a large degree of repetition in it. Ruislip has a very long history with buildings and structures dating back to Saxon and Norman times. The people of Ruislip have worked hard to protect our environment with one of the oldest and largest residents' associations in the country and one of only 2 national nature reserves in Greater London. But to thrive, Ruislip cannot be preserved unchanging in aspect. It needs to live and change as the years go by. The Six Bells Inn on Ducks Hill Road is one of our older buildings, built around 1810, sitting on the northern edge of Ruislip. It had served our community as a pub and an inn for over 200 years, but sadly closed in 2015. 3 years later, it was reopened by Richard Aarons as a bar and restaurant, bringing it back to life. The site is on the very edge of the Greenbelt, so Mr. Aarons obtained special planning permission to demolish some of the modern outbuildings and replace them with a new dining hall, in much the same way as the Plough, now Miller and Carter, and the George, now Harvester, were expanded many years ago. The new hall was to be in the local barn style with walls of mixed wood, brick and render and a tall gabled roof. Before building work on the dining hall could commence, the COVID-19 outbreak in early 2020 brought everything to a halt. The effect of the pandemic on restaurants convinced Mr. Aarons that he needed to diversify to survive, and so he has decided that restoring the accommodation aspect of the Six Bells Inn by adding bedrooms, including a specially adapted room for disabled guests, to the roof space of the previously approved dining hall is the way forward. Ruislip is not well served for accommodation with only the Barn Hotel and Orchard Premier Inn, so the additional facility, especially for disabled guests, is welcome. The dining hall / inn is set very well back from the road and from the neighbouring properties. The site of the Six Bells is extensive and the design is in the local vernacular, so the proposed changes should not create a visual intrusion. Very little, if any, additional land is used by the proposal, and that can hardly be described as green, having already been developed. Since the previous application was rejected, Mr. Aarons has worked with Hillingdon planning officers to address the concerns raised, and as a result has produced modified plans that have reduced the roof height and length of the new hall so it does not overtop the Grade 2 listed part of the building. Mr. Aarons has taken great pains to consult with his neighbours to make sure they are happy with his plans and has already addressed several issues that they raised at meetings he organised before the previous application. Many of the signatories of this petition are the immediate neighbours of the Six Bells, so it can be seen that they are happy for this application to be granted. As chairman of the Ruislip Residents Association, I brought this application up at a previous monthly executive meeting, and we agreed that the RRA would support the application as being in the best interests of our community. Our Woodlands officer is also chairman of Ruislip Woods Management Advisory Group, RWMAG, and he raised no objections to the development next to Mad Bess Wood. My fellow petitioners and I therefore ask the committee to follow the planning officer's recommendation and grant this application. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Liz. That was lovely done. Okay, I've got Councillor Hagger, Councillor Dot Costa, Councillor Oswald, and Councillor Morgan. So, and James, you'd like to come in first. I can see you waving at me.
Yeah, I just thought it might help to make it clear what the difference is between this proposal and the last one. So the last proposal you had concerns with was 10 bedrooms. This is 8. Effectively the length of the new structure has been reduced in its length So the width's the same, the height's the same, but the length is less. So effectively, you've lost 2 bedrooms. That's roughly 4 meters that's been chopped off. But one of the significant factors of that is it means that the new build is starting to become more subservient to the pub. So the length from the beginning to the end of the new extension was actually previously bigger than the length from the front to the back of the pub, whereas now it is less. So effectively, your officers feel that although the conservation officer still has some reservations, that we've now got something that, taking all the material planning considerations into account, we think it's big but approvable in plain English.
Thank you very much, James. I think that's helped everybody. Councillor Haggo, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And that does explain it really well. It's certainly better than the last one that came through on the planning. I'm pleased now it's 8 and not 10. I'm happy to support officers' recommendations, but just before I do, I just want to ask a question whether we can put in a condition. I noticed that one of my concerns was on page 61, they had actually altered the building. We've got altered to a modern 4-panel door. It wasn't actually wasn't giving consent. They just did it. Now, I suppose my concern is if they are going to do any more works without consent. So my question to you, James, is there any possible way they can either restore that back, the door that they took out, this is on page 61, or whether we can make sure that they don't do anything more to change the perspective of the building? So is that possible? I think that's my only concern. I mean, I'm quite happy. I understand the petition. I agree it's going to be really beneficial for the area and it's going to create jobs, etc., etc. But it's just that rest. Thanks, James. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. James, that's over to you. Do you need a few more minutes? I'll take another few people. Is that all right? James, you need more time?
Yes, if you give me a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
It's really a question about tightening conditions, so I need to
fine.
have a look.
I'll let you sift through that while we carry on. Am I taking that you're proposing this subject to the conditions there? Is that
yes.
Right? Okay,
yes.
Fine. So would you like to propose both of them or just this one? Because we are taking...
I'm happy to do both, Chair.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, I've got Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. When we had this application in November last year, one of the reasons was for refusal was inappropriate development within designated green land. Even though James Rogers he answered the question, but I had a question in my mind. What was the difference with now and the previous application, except from reducing the size from 10 to 8, but it's cleared from James Rogers. So I'm happy. I'm happy to second the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James, you still need more time? I think you do. Is it in depth? I think James Wells, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, this is arguably to do with the details that would be in the listed building consent application. So if members were happy to delegate to me to tighten the listed building conditions,
yes, that'd be fantastic.
Then we'll kind of make a careful note of what Councillor Hagar said, and then try and transfer that into.
No, I think that's really good, James, because there is concern. I agree with Councillor Hagar here. I do have concerns here that no matter, we do want to help, but that doesn't mean a carte blanche attitude to do what they want, and we do appreciate that.
Yeah. So just to extrapolate further, condition 6 on the listed buildings is detailed drawings, and it mentions things such as soil vent pipes and rainwater goods and things that conservation officers look at. So I'd be looking at expanding that condition. That's where I'm currently, what I'm currently thinking.
Okay.
If members are happy to delegate that. I just want to see whether James knows something I don't know.
Yeah, James is indicating
as well.
I'm sure that's not, I'm sure that's not the case, but there are conditions, as James has said, conditions 3 and 4 on the listed building consent application do seek to both make good any damage and to control works to the building's interior.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that that provides the safeguards that Councillor Hagger was looking for.
Yeah, I'd just like to tighten up a bit because they have actually taken this door out, which is quite significant.
Yeah, this needs to be specifically mentioned in a condition, but I think I know how to deal with it.
Okay, fine. So
you're happy to delegate to me.
We'll delegate that to you unless someone objects. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. I'm glad this has come back before us and it's for approval. I think a lot of us on the committee wanted it last time, but we lost it on majority. I think it was the chairman's vote, and probably rightly so. But I think it's a lot better this time, and I'm happy to go along with the officer's recommendation, and I'm happy with any conditions they might want to add afterwards, just for a bit of protection, Chairman. But
Brilliant.
But other than that, yeah, I'm happy. Thank you.
No, I agree. I think we need the protection, especially the listed building. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was with Councillor Oswald on this, and that was in favour of it back in November.
Yes.
And also, I'm glad that they've come back. And yes, they've reduced the size, and so I'm very happy to go along with officers' recommendations.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll follow my colleagues on this one. I'm happy to go along with officer's recommendation. I think it would be good for the pub, and I think it would be good for the area of Ruislip. Six Bells has been there for a long time. It was a great pub, and now they've got to move forward, otherwise we lose this heritage building. So I'm happy with this and happy to go along with officer's recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. Councillor Yarrow.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I too am happy to go along with the officer's recommendations. I think it's very interesting. Normally on items where there is a petition, the residents' association are very much tend to be against the proposals. I'm happy to see this time that they are 100% for it. They've obviously gone through the minutiae and they are very supportive of it. And so consequently, I welcome the an acceptance of this proposal.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. I agree, concur with all councillors. I do believe that it was too big last time, in my opinion, anyway. I think it's a nice little thing. With those extra conditions, I'll go to the vote. Councillor
Chairman, sorry, just before we take the vote, is it? Can we make it clearer that we're voting on item 8 and 9 together?
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, that's fine. Just checking.
I go to the vote. I have a seconder for 8 and 9, which is Councillor Dott, and I have a proposer, which is Councillor Hagger, for both as well. Councillor Kaufman, can you tell me yes for both or?
Yes for both, Chairman.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman. I've just noticed Councillor Singh has raised his hand. I don't know if he had something he wanted to say before the vote.
Singh, do beg your pardon, Councillor Singh. I didn't see you. Beg your pardon.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm quite happy, actually. The residents are quite happy for the new development. Also, I'm quite happy with the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we go back to the vote again. Councillor Kaufman for 8 and 9 is a yes.
Yes, Chairman. Thank you.
Councillor Melvin for 8 and 9.
Yes, for Chairman, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan for 8 and 9.
For items 8 and 9, for Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Oswald for 8 and 9.
Yeah, for both, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Singh for both of them, 8 and 9.
Both for Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Yarrow for 8 and 9.
Yes, for both 8 and 9.
Thank you very much. So that's a full house. Do you agree with that on both of them, Liz?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chairman.
Great. So we're up to now we move on to item 10, which is Berry Street, Ruislip. James, would you like to take us out on this one, please?
Thank you, Chairman. This slide shows the location of the site. It's proposed to demolish the existing bungalow and erect 4 4-bedroom, 2-storey houses with roof space accommodation and associated parking and amenity space. These slides show the existing site and then the site plan showing the proposed 4 new dwellings. And if members can just see the first 2 dwellings towards the south of the site approximately occupy the location of the existing bungalow. Then this drawing shows the plans and elevations of the proposed new houses, and then effectively a photo montage of the houses in situ. Then we come to an aerial view of the site, some photographs of the existing building and its garden, and then some oblique photos. The photo on the right shows one of the houses opposite the site. There are some very similar 2-storey houses opposite on the opposite side of the road, and then again the photograph on the left on the screen shows the existing houses, as I say, opposite the site. If we click back to the slide showing the sort of a photo montage of the site, as I said, the application site's occupied by a substantial detached bungalow, which is to be demolished. The 2 buildings to the south of the site, effectively on the right-hand side of the screen, they will follow the established building line of the neighbouring property 186 Berry Street, and then dwellings 3 and 4 will be set slightly forward of the line by approximately 4 metres, and there will be a separation distance of about 2 metres between each dwelling. 2 parking spaces are allocated to the front of each dwelling. I'll carry on. The proposed dwellings will be set back approximate between 21 to 22 metres from the boundary of the site, with a frontage onto Berry Street. As members will have seen or noticed, the northern part of the garden of the bungalow is in the green belt, as shown on, I think, effectively this slide here helps members to understand that the northernmost dwelling is to be sited approximately 5 to 6 metres south of the greenbelt boundary, and that dwelling is not considered to have an unacceptable impact on the openness of the greenbelt. And therefore, in summary, for the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, James. We have obviously no petitions on this, so I got Councillor Kaufman and Councillor Oswald at the moment. Councillor Singh, are you still got your hand up from last time? That's okay. Fine. If you want to speak this time, it's fine. Okay, Councillor, who did I say first? Councillor Kaufman, I think that's the first.
Thank you, Chairman. I thank officers for their report on this one. It's lovely to see houses with gardens for a change, and I think that sort of 3-bed dwellings, etc. I'm not sure there are 4 beds in there. Are probably sort of one of the most sought after sort of dwellings in the borough. I mean, all we get at the moment is sort of flats, etc. But this is I think a very nice development, and I would go along with officers' recommendation on this one.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Councillor Oswald?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chairman. Yeah, likewise. I was up there on Monday, and I'd received the report already, and I just went past. It's a massive site. And I know where the athletics club is, so I had a good idea where it was. So I think it's probably appropriate. And I agree with Councillor Kaufman. It's nice to see properties like this with gardens instead of lots of flats with 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom flats. What a pleasure. Yeah. I'll recommend. Oh, sorry. I'll second the recommendation.
Fine, thank you very much. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, it does look a great idea. I'm not going to go against the officers' recommendations. I've just got one question concerning flooding, because I do know that there's a lot of runoff from the woodlands at the back of these gardens. Have we got enough drainage to make sure that these houses do not suffer from flooding? That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. James, do you want to come back on that?
Condition 8's a very comprehensive SADS condition. So in a way, that's the answer to the question.
Thank you.
I just want to add something. Electric points on these properties. Have we got both on there? James?
Yes, so we've gone for, because this is kind of, this is 4 quite big houses, we're actually going for 1 active charging point on every house.
Good.
So this is, there's some green credentials to this scheme as well.
Okay, that's the reason that I wanted to bring it up. I know it was there, but I just think it's very important for us. In 10 years, the world will be a different place.
Oh dear, well done, Chairman.
And my son is hoping for flying cars, but I don't know where that's going. But anyway, we will move on, and he's 16 as well, which is even more frightening. Anyway, right, Councillor Dox, for or against?
Thank you, Chairman, for officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kaufman proposed. Councillor Hagger?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin?
Yes, Chairman, I'm for this one.
Councillor Morgan?
For, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Oswald seconded. Councillor Singh?
For, Mr. Chairman.
And Councillor Yarrow?
For, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. That's a full house. Are we agreed there, Liz?
Yes,
okay.
agreed, Chairman.
I feel like a bingo chairman sometimes. Anyway, let's we'll move on quickly to item 11. James, would you like to take us out, please?
Thank you, Chairman. This slide shows the location of the site in New Year's Green Lane. The proposal is for the demolition of an existing group of farm buildings and the construction of a single replacement building, which would continue to be used to maintain the farm and farm buildings, together with a proportion of domestic use. The following slides show the existing site with the buildings that are existing shown in grey. And then some other slides showing the existing buildings, the existing roof plan, and existing elevations, going through to the proposed site plan or the plan showing the proposed building in situ, or as it would be, with the anticipated use, and in due course the front elevation. I'll click quickly through these and come back to the elevational drawings in due course, but members I'm sure will be familiar with this area of New Year's Green Lane, and there are some photographs here that show the existing buildings, and it's clear from the officer's report and from the photographs that the buildings are reaching the end of their useful life, and appear to be in need of replacement. I'll click back to the elevation to explain to members that the similar application was refused permission, not by committee, but under delegated powers in May 2020, because the application lacked what officers considered to be necessary detail with regards to the use of the building and associated supporting information. With regards to the current application, the proposed development, it would occupy a similar site to the demolished buildings as members have seen from the slides. It would be approximately just over 27 metres long, just over 15 metres wide, with a pitched roof. Due to sloping levels on the site, sloping ground levels, the maximum height on the north elevation, the ridge height would be approximately 7.87 meters, and eaves 4.21 meters. As I've said, the existing buildings are in a poor state of repair. The limited increase in the size of the building is not considered to materially impact on the openness of this part of the Greenbelt. And because information on the intended use of the building in relation to Greenbelt policy and other supporting information, including a BAT survey, has been provided, and it's considered for all those reasons that the reasons for refusal of a previous application have now been overcome, and the application is recommended for approval on that basis. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, James. Just a quick question on my point of view. There was a caravan on that site. Is that going to be removed, James?
That's my understanding, certainly.
Okay, fine. So they won't be able to put another one on there, will they?
Not without consent.
Yes, fine. That's great. Let's make that quite clear. It's open now. I've got Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at the pictures, it does look like the roof is made of, or the existing roof is made of asbestos. Could the officers confirm that we do have conditions in there about the removal of toxic and dangerous or hazardous materials? And other than that, I'm in favour of officers' recommendations.
Are you proposing that, Councillor Morgan?
I will do indeed, sir.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hagger.
Yes, it certainly looks like it's going to actually be an improvement, I'm thinking, on looking at this, and certainly what it has been before. Councillor Morgan has said actually what I was going to pick up, and I'm quite happy to second that. Thank you, Chair.
James, do you want to come back? Thank you very much, Councillor Hagger. James, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I've put my hand up because there is an informative about asbestos removal. It's on page 135 of the agenda, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah,
Chairman.
I appreciate that. Okay, we'll go straight to the vote. Nice and simple. Councillor Dott.
For, Chairman. Thank you.
Very much. Councillor Hagger seconded. Councillor Kaufman.
For, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan proposed. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, for, Chairman.
Councillor Singh.
For, Chairman.
And Councillor Yarrow.
For, Chairman.
Lovely. Great. Full house. Liz, yeah?
Yes, that's right, Chairman.
Okay, item 12. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we don't really need a presentation on a path, but if someone really needs it, please put your hand up now and we'll have one.
I can move the officer's recommendation straight away.
Well, that's even better. There you go.
And I'll second it, Chairman. I'll second it.
Oh, there was a run for seconders, but I think Councillor Melvin just picked that up.
I think she might have done, Chairman.
Yeah, exactly. So Councillor Oswald has proposed it and Councillor Melvin has seconded it. I'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Dott.
For, Chairman. Thank you.
Councillor Hagger.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kaufman.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan.
For, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
For, Chairman.
And Councillor Yarrow.
For, Chairman.
Thank you very much. James, you want to take us out on item 13, please?
Thank you, Chairman. This slide shows the location of the site. The proposed development retains the existing public house and converts it to form 4 flats, one bed, 2 2-bed and 1 3-bed, and provides 2 3-bed semi-detached properties to the rear or the north of the site, which will become apparent shortly. The following slides show the existing pub, and again the existing pub, the elevations, and this is the proposed block plan towards the north of the site, showing the 2 semi-detached properties.
James, sorry to interrupt. sorry to interrupt. I'm only getting the actual front page. I don't know where other members are getting the other bits. Are you?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got everything.
Okay, fine. Okay, it's just me then.
Sorry, Chairman.
Fine, don't worry.
May I continue on that basis?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll continue. Just sorry, I'll click through the drawings. I was explaining that we have in a bit more detail the proposals for the conversion of the building into flats and the two semi-detached properties to the north of the site. Just clicking through, and then we have some quite helpful elevations again showing the converted existing building and the two new dwellings. Just take members through photographs. The existing building, may be familiar with this. We've been talking about the Six Bells. This is again a former pub, and again I think it's good that the building can be retained, and hopefully that will be the way forward with regards to the development. As set out in the report, there was an application approved in January 2020 to demolish the public house and to convert it into 9 flats. Although this proposal doesn't produce so many residential units, it does have the merit of retaining what I think is an attractive building. The conservation officer has advised that the external character and appearance of the pub would be retained, and it positively contributes to the area of special local character. Similarly, the design of the proposed dwellings is considered acceptable. No objections have been raised by the highways officer with regards to parking, etc. And the proposed development would provide adequate living and amenity space, being keeping with the existing street scene, and the area of special local character would not be detrimental to the amenity of neighbours. If I could make members aware, there's a verbal addendum, please, for councillors to consider. On page 178 of the agenda, we were talking about car parking in the Berry Street application. There's a small error in condition 4 on page 178, if you're with me, under part 2, details of hard landscaping, and then 2D car parking layouts. Instead of 5%, it should read 20%. On that basis, for the reasons set out in the report, the application is recommended for approval. Happy to take questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, James. I have Councillor Morgan and Councillor Yarrow. Is that correct? Councillor Morgan,
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this particular pub, you either loved it or you hated it, and it was a Marmite pub. You know, it's a good proposal. It's sad that yes, we're losing yet another pub, and you know, could the officers confirm that there is enough amenity space, not just for the flats, but also for the two houses that are being proposed here? And can we actually add another condition, especially for the chairman, that QPR sticker is removed from the windows? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing wrong with QPR.
Yeah, thank you very much. John, at least I've got some support here. Come on, you asked. Anyway, Councillor Yarrow.
Anyway, other than that, I'm happy to go with officers' recommendations I propose.
Thank you. Fine. Councillor Yarrow.
Let's get into it. How can the officers give us any indication as to what the car parking requirements they intended to be? Is it 1 per flat, 2 for the other properties? How many spaces do they envisage?
Thank
Oh, sorry, Alan. I'm stealing your thunder, but I know, sorry, that there are 6 parking spaces, and that works out as one for each of the flats and one for each of the dwellings.
Okay, James, you might as well come in as well, Mr. Tilley, and give us your expert advice. That's what you've been here for. So.
Sorry, Alan. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. We will require that the developer provides a car parking allocation plan, so we know exactly which car parking spaces go to which unit.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
Is that okay with you,
Yeah.
Councillor Yarrow?
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, you're going to second that one, Mr. Yarrow, or do I get someone else?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Melvin, did you want to contribute anything?
No, it's all been said, but you know, I'm pleased that they are keeping the pub the outside as it is. I was a bit worried about them knocking it all down, but that's lovely.
Although I will be asking for a condition for have a big QPR flag at the top of it.
Well,
but
I'll add that now.
Can I agree at the moment? I don't want the QPR there.
All right, that's it. No more questions from you, Councillor Melvin. Right. Okay, I'll go straight to the vote. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Chairman. I go with the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Haggart.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kaufman.
For, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Melvin.
Yes, for, Chairman.
Thank you. With the QPR flag. I'll put one outside your house next week. Councillor Oswald.
The QPR flag.
Mr. Chairman.
For, Chairman, and a season ticket holder.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. I think Councillor Morgan's raised his hand.
Yes, Councillor Morgan.
Yeah, I just wanted confirmation from the officers about the amenity space.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And they didn't come back.
James, you want to... I can't hear you, James. I think you're on silent then.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, there are gardens for the 2 new dwellings. The amenity space for the flats is slightly below standard, but as members are probably aware, in the immediate south of the site, you walk under what is effectively a bridge for the Metropolitan line, and you're very quickly into an area which has a football ground, a cemetery, and a golf course. So there's a lot of immediately available amenity space, just a very short walk away. And I know from going to that site on occasions myself in the past that it's a very nice area there.
Okay, I think that covers that.
Actually, can I come in there, Chairman? Sorry, and add the fact that as soon as the lockdown and everything's over, there's also going to be an outside gym there.
Oh, even better. Look at that. The ward councillors already telling us what's going to be there. And all the QPR supporters from the whole of London will be coming to use it. Anyway, Councillor Singh, have we got...
Councillor Higgins, sorry, would we be able to, because we've had some more information, can we just
go back
restart the vote? Yes, please.
I will restart the vote. Councillor Dott.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Haggard.
For, Chair.
Councillor Kaufman.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Melvin.
For, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan proposed. Councillor Oswald.
Yeah, still for, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
For, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Yarrow seconded. I make that a full house, is that correct?
Yes, that's right, Chairman.
Brilliant. That ends our live feed, and I wish you all good night, those who are watching. And I'll wait for Liz to turn off. Can everybody remain silent, please?
Okay, thank you, Chairman. One moment.